From talk show hosts to Hollywood's leading men, here are 10 famous people who were homeless. Number 10, David Letterman. He became one of the most famous hosts and comedians in America after 33 years of fronting both Late Night with David Letterman on NBC and then The Late Show with David Letterman on CBS. But the man who holds the record as the longest-running late-night TV host in history once found himself homeless in pursuit of his dreams. He was born and grew up in Indianapolis, Indiana, where he began his professional life as a radio show host and a weatherman on the local TV station. Realizing that there were limitations to the career progression there, he risked everything by moving with his first wife to Los Angeles, where they lived in his 1973 Chevy pickup truck while he tried to find work. He regularly performed at the Comedy Store, and luckily for him, he was soon hired as a joke writer for Jimmy Walker in a team that also consisted of Jay Leno, among others. And he was able to move out of his pickup truck into his first residence in the city. Now, of course, he has no such issues and can live pretty much wherever he wants. Number 9, Margot Kidder. Having begun her acting career in the 1960s, Margot Kidder became hot property in Hollywood in the 1970s after landing a string of high-profile roles. Most famously, she starred as Lois Lane in the series of Superman movies, but she also played Kathy Lutz in the Amityville Horror, Siamese Twins in 1973's Sisters, and had parts in Black Christmas and The Great Waldo Pepper. She mingled with Hollywood royalty and dated Richard Pryor and the then Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Trudeau. Sadly though, despite the success, Kidder fell on harder times in the following years. She continued to work in smaller roles through the 80s and the early 90s, but around 1995 to 1996, she suffered from a nervous breakdown. This resulted in her sleeping in cardboard boxes in backyards in Los Angeles area, having hacked off her hair and lost her 2 front teeth. Claiming she had been assaulted and was hiding from someone, Kidder was picked up by police in April of 1996, covered in scratches and bruises. She was sent for a psychiatric evaluation, and this led to her getting back in control of things. Since then, she has worked on a series of TV and movie projects and now lives in Montana. Number 8, Jennifer Lopez. Jenny from the Block is a worldwide superstar, predominantly for her work as a singer and actor, but also for her fashion designs, books, and product ranges. This empire has seen her worth rise to over $250 million. While it may seem like she's been fortunate in life, it wasn't always so great for her. According to an interview with her in 2013, her desire for a career in show business didn't go down very well with her family and resulted in her having to move out. Her mother, Guadalupe Rodriguez, wanted her daughter to go to college, just like most parents, but J-Lo had different ideas. Instead, she wanted to become a full-time dancer, and this resulted in massive arguments. The Grammy Award winner and former American Idol judge ended up moving out of her family home with nowhere to go and slept on a sofa in her dance studio for a while. It was a necessary thing to do, so she saw it and she was right. Soon after, she landed her first job as a dancer touring Europe, and things really took off for her from there. Number 7, Leon Spinks. In the 1970s, Leon Spinks was a successful professional boxer who won the heavyweight championship in his 8th fight in 1978 by defeating Muhammad Ali. That would prove to be the pinnacle of his career though, as his undefeated record fell in his next bout, again against Muhammad Ali, and finished his 18-year career in 1995, having fought in 46 fights with 26 wins, 17 losses, and 3 draws. Beset by tragedy, including the murder of one of his sons in 1990, and a series of bad investment decisions along with a drug addiction that saw him spend all of his $5 million of winnings from his career, Spinks found himself living in a homeless shelter in East St. Louis in 1990. Now he lives in Columbus, Nebraska with family and keeps a low profile as he deals with the long-lasting effects of a boxing career, reportedly showing signs of the development of dementia. Number 6, Carmen Electra. Carmen Electra grew up in a large family in Ohio. With musical parents, it was perhaps no surprise that she followed in their footsteps and trained as a dancer. Her first job was in 1990 as a dancer at the Kings Island Amusement Park in Ohio. But she soon moved to Minneapolis to seek further opportunities. Here she met Prince and her career took off. She recorded an album with him and went on tour, but eventually this collaboration ended and she was left looking for what was next. After a series of financial miscalculations, as well as a boyfriend who took the remains of her slim savings, she found herself broke and on the streets of Los Angeles. Added to this, she was in a sore physical state because of the rigors of being a professional dancer, and she didn't know where to turn. She slept on benches and on people's floors and finally managed to get herself an agent who would drive her to all of her auditions. Of course, things ended up well for her because she soon became one of the stars of Baywatch and MTV's Singled Out, and she never looked back. Number 5, Natasha Lyonne. Natasha Lyonne grew up in New York but had a tough family life and has lived independently from her parents and not had much to do with them since she was only 16. She was a child star, featured in Pee-wee's Playhouse at the age of 6 and Dennis the Menace, and after being cast in Woody Allen's Everyone Says I Love You when she was 16, she went on to star in 30 movies over the next 10 years, including Detroit Rock City, Blade Trinity, Scary Movie 2, and most famously, American Pie. She has also starred in a number of TV shows, but hit rock bottom in the early 2000s. She was arrested for DUI, had a number of complaints from neighbors about her behavior, and was evicted by her landlord, Michael Rappaport, in 2005 after further complaints. This left her with nowhere to live, and she spent a while in the streets. Later in 2005, she was admitted to the hospital for drug addiction, a collapsed lung, hepatitis C, and a heart infection. But this seems to have spurred her on to sorting her life out. Since then, she has been a series regular on one of my favorite TV shows, Orange is the New Black. She also does voiceover work for Steven Universe on Cartoon Network and has really turned her life around. Number 4, Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey is an international superstar and was the first actor to be paid more than $20 million for a single movie when he played Chip Douglas in The Cable Guy. Having also been in Ace Ventura: Pet Detective, Dumb and Dumber, The Truman Show, Bruce Almighty, and Kick-Ass 2, he's bound to have been in a movie that you love. But you may be surprised to hear that he had a tough childhood that left him homeless at one point. He was the son of a musician who got a job as an accountant to pay the family bills. This worked well for them, but when Carrey was 12, his father lost his job and they were evicted. They were forced to live in a van, and when he was 15, Carrey quit school so he could get a job as a janitor to help his family. He has spoken of how angry he was with the situation at the time, but it was probably what taught him the skills he needed to become such a success later in life. He found relief from his problems by performing in comedy clubs, which led to him landing his first role in a comedy show called In Living Color, when he took a risk and moved to Los Angeles. Number 3, Dr. Phil. He tries to help people with various problems on his show and can be quite controversial at times, but Dr. Phil has certainly had experiences in his life that gave him the knowledge to take on such challenges. He first found fame for his appearances on The Oprah Winfrey Show, and now has his own show and books, with Forbes listing him in 2015 as the 15th highest earning celebrity in the world after earning $70 million the previous year. But things haven't always been so great for him. He found himself homeless when he was just 15. It was proving too expensive for his family to afford to stay together, so he moved out of the home with his father. They began by living in the car and managed to find a room in the local YMCA for $5 a week. Eventually, they were able to find themselves an apartment close enough to his school for him to walk, although they didn't have electricity there for another 2 months. Eventually, he was able to get back on track with his studies. Number 2, Heather Mills. Heather Mills has suffered a series of challenges in her life, and it's a testament to her strength that she keeps fighting through them. As a model, in 1993, she was involved in a road accident with a police motorcycle that resulted in her left leg being amputated beneath the knee. But rather than giving up on the dream, she continued with her career, choosing to model with her prosthetic limb. Her profile skyrocketed in 2000 when she began seeing Sir Paul McCartney, who she married in 2002. They had a daughter together but divorced in 2008. It was when she was young, though, that she became homeless. When she was 9, her mother left her and her siblings to be looked after by their father, who was abusive towards them. Following his imprisonment, she returned to live with her mother in London, but they didn't get along. She ran away and soon after lived on the streets until her modeling career took off. She is now known for her advocacy of animal rights and her involvement with the Vegan Association. Number 1, Sylvester Stallone. Before he became known for his role in Rocky, Sylvester Stallone was a broke, struggling actor and writer who often found himself without anywhere to live. He had grown up in New York, where an accident during birth left him with an injury to a facial nerve, which caused permanent paralysis in his lip, tongue, and chin. He struggled at school, but channeled all of his energy into writing. His route to stardom would of course come by writing the script for Rocky, but his life at the time was difficult. He was homeless, and he even had to sell his dog for $50 to pay for food. After managing to sell the Rocky script 6 months later, he was able to get the dog back from the family because he just couldn't imagine the movie being made without his bull mastiff featured in it. Some reports claim he had to pay $15,000 to get his dog back, but even if he did, that likely wouldn't have been too much of a problem for him because he was already on his way to superstardom. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and click here for more videos. I'm Amber, and I'll see you next time on Peachy Planet.